Good morning, everyone, and welcome to this month's Capacity Building webinar as part of our 2013 Capacity Building webinar series. The voice you are hearing right now, I am April Reardon. I'm the Capacity Building Director here at Habitat for Humanity of Minnesota. The Capacity Building webinar series is our monthly web conference. It's hosted by Habitat for Humanity of Minnesota for our affiliates and oftentimes some of our friends from affiliates in neighboring states. But the web conferences are on the last Wednesday of each month. Many of you have joined us before. And next month, just to give a little sneak peek at what our upcoming topics are, next month we will be talking with some folks at Twin Cities Habitat for Humanity and the Homes for All campaign about the advocacy agenda for 2014. They're definite for the next legislative session. Interested in hearing from our Greater Minnesota affiliates about getting their input on that agenda. I just have a little bit of a couple logistical things just to share with you. Most of you have participated in webinars before, so you are familiar with how to participate. You can use your question panel right here, both to submit comments. If we ask questions, so our presenter might ask you to share, you can type those in there. You can also enter your questions there. Not everyone sees that automatically. I will have to read those aloud to our presenter or to the group, or I can turn around and share those in that question panel. So if you have a question that's really just for the organizer or just for us, it's okay to submit that there too if you're having any technical problems or things like that. Participating, another way might be that we could have you raise your hand in your control panel. There's a little hand there that you can click. That would let us know that you are interested in being unmuted. Everyone, all of our participants right now are muted for the best sound quality. We do record the webinars, so we like to really control some of that background noise. But if you raise your hand, we can unmute you and you can talk to us. The way to do that would be if you have a microphone built in, or if you're wearing a headset, or if you happen to be participating by phone. Let's see. You will receive slides and other resources via email after the web conference. So just know that you can look for a follow-up email from us. And if you have questions about how to access the audio or anything, you can be typing those in and I'll be managing some of that for you. I do have a couple of polls that helps us figure out how you are participating today. Sometimes we have folks who log into the webinar but actually have multiple people gathered around their screen. So we like to get a sense of how many attendees are participating with you. So if you can respond to the poll that's up on your screen right now. Okay. We are almost there. I usually give it about 30 seconds here. We're almost done. Okay, it looks like we do have some groups. So I'll share that with you. Most of you are participating individually, but it looks like probably one person has 5 or more and another person has a couple people participating. So that's helpful for us to know. And one more just lets us know how you are planning to participate, kind of what access to audio or how were you planning to interact with us. The webinars are the richest and most dynamic if you are participating and submitting your questions and comments. We know there's lots of expertise out amongst our affiliates as well. So letting us know if you're on the phone and also able to type into the chat, if you have a microphone and headset and want to do both. Sometimes you don't have access to a microphone or the phone and you're just going to participate by chat, which is just typing only. All right, so we're just about there. So we've got a pretty good mix, but it looks like we do have quite a few. Most of you are able to talk with us. So remember just to raise your hand and we can unmute you if you have a question or comment that you want to share with us during the webinar. So without further ado, then I want to just introduce today's panelist. We are excited to have our own Jenny Ebert, Communications and Development Director, with us today. Jenny has been with us for 8 years, more than 8 years. And you can see and read there all of the different responsibilities that she has had here and the great contributions she has made. We'll talk more about some of those things, but I do want to mention too that today is Jenny's last day with Habitat Minnesota. So it's kind of a bittersweet ending here. We're going to get as much information and expertise out of her, and it shows her passion and commitment right up to the very end to deliver this important webinar to you. But she is moving on starting tomorrow with the Eden Prairie School District as the community education coordinator there. So we'll have some time at the end of the webinar too to fuss over Jenny a little bit more, but it also says a lot about her that she said, we'll do some of that at the end, right? Because there's some really important information that we need to get to our affiliates. So we will jump into the webinar content, but just wanted to say that up front in case you want to send messages to Jenny during the webinar as well. But we're so grateful to have her doing this with us today. So I'm going to change the presenter here to Jenny and then let her take it over from here.
Great. Well, good morning, everyone. As April said, my name is Jenny Ebert. I'm the Communications and Development Director at Habitat Minnesota. I've been here for 9.5 years, actually, working on a wide variety of things, and in recent years have really focused on communications and fundraising related activities. And so I'm really excited to have an opportunity to share with you some of what I've learned over the last several years, specifically related to Give to the Max Day. My background wasn't necessarily in communications or fundraising, but through research and practice and trial and help of a really wonderful communications vista, we were able to come up with some great strategies that paid off for us and I think are replicable at affiliates as well. So I was just on the GiveMN website moments ago, and they have a countdown clock, and on it it says there are 49 days until Give to the Max Day. And I thought, that is so fantastic, 49 days. That there's so much that we all can do at our affiliates to get ready for this fantastic day of online giving. So for this presentation, I am not going to focus on the technical side of how to set up your GiveMN page per se, or how to set up certain email strategies and whatnot. It'll be more about the messaging and communications tools that you can use to uh, increase the amount of donors and funds raised that you get on Give to the Max Day. I would encourage you that if you need support in that area, that Give Minnesota itself as an organization has lots of great tools and resources. They have fantastic webinars that are have been previously recorded. They have handouts, and their staff themselves are really, really helpful and could help you walk through any of those kind of questions that you might have. So the first part of my presentation, for about the first 15 minutes or so, I'm going to go kind of step by step over what we did last year on Give to the Max Day to increase our funds raised that we received, and then kind of the back half of this webinar will be showing examples of what we did and examples of what Habitat affiliates did across Minnesota that are great ideas that are potentially replicable for everybody else. So just as a quick overview, last year on Give to the Max Day, there was $16.3 million fundraised with over $53 million or 53,000 donors with over 4,300 nonprofits participating. So this event, this online Giving Philanthropy Day, really has an opportunity to raise a lot of money for nonprofits across Minnesota. You can see over time that that's grown from the first year in 2009 up until 2012. I know they have high hopes for increasing that even more in 2013. My next slide is just it's a summary of what we've seen with Habitat affiliates across Minnesota. As many of you know, at Habitat Minnesota, we love to collect data and we love to share data. So we've tracked over time what affiliates have been participating and what their funds raised have been. I know this is could be a little bit small to read on your screen, and I will be sending this out as a handout for you to access after the presentation so you can look in a little bit more closely. But we've had over 25 affiliates in Minnesota participate and Give to the Max Day in different ways. You know, last year in 2012, over $168,000 was raised on that day. In total, nearly a $500,000 has been raised since 2009 by Habitat affiliates here in Minnesota. So the opportunities for participating are really, really quite wonderful. So before I go too much farther,
See,
if you
Jenny,
could just take a
there's a
moment.
quick question
Sure.
from someone about from the first number slide asking, is that just for Habitat for Humanity? I was helping somebody else get registered, so
Oh, sure.
I couldn't
Yep.
answer her myself.
The this first slide, this is all nonprofits in Minnesota who participated in Give to the Max Day. And then the second slide is just Habitat affiliates in Minnesota.
Great.
So now that people are starting to use the chat function, um, if you could just take one moment to talk about a quick success or challenge that your affiliate has experienced with Give to the Max Day, if you could just chat that into to April and I will review those and try and incorporate that into things as we go along, and hopefully we can help either share the successes and or address some of the challenges that people may have experienced over time. So give that a quick thought and type in your responses. So as you're thinking about that, I'm going to just make my plea for planning. I'm those of you who do Myers-Briggs, I'm an ISTJ. I like to plan. I like to have details. And in this instance, I think it paid off. We really thought carefully about what were the different tools we were going to need to make Give to the Max Day be successful for us in 2012. And really what I think about with affiliates is there's an opportunity to raise $2,000, $5,000, $10,000 for your affiliate. And if you were doing some other kind of event that would net that kind of funds raise, how much time would you put into it? How much energy would you put into it? Who would you involve to make that happen? So these details coming up are what we did for the planning process. And when I say we, I'm talking about myself. And last year I had a really fantastic communications vista named Roxy who was helping us work through the various elements of this. So what I call this was our secret sauce. We looked at what are the different elements that we're going to need to do to have this day be successful. And I would say, you know, this was our recipe. This isn't something that you have to do all of these things, but there are some things that are kind of key ingredients. And I'll talk about this more in further slides, but kind of the biggest piece on having a successful Give to the Max Day is knowing who you're talking to. Uh, who do you have all the data and email and addresses and whatnot for your donors, your volunteers, your campus chapter groups, a wide variety of people who you might want to communicate uh, with on this day, and then thinking about how you might segment those audiences. If you're looking at your donors, how are you going to talk to your online donors versus the people who typically send you a check in the mail? Or how are you going to talk to the donors who have been giving to you for 5 or more years or give you more than $1,000 every year? This is the key point that we really focused in on as we move forward with our planning. The second piece that I think was the most important was the second half of this blue bubble of thinking about your messaging and thinking about your calls to action. And those relate directly to your audiences. You want to let your audiences know that you know who they are, that they mean something to you, that they're important, and that you're not just sending one blanket email out to everybody or one blanket letter, that you're really focusing in on how that particular person or group of audience is helping your affiliate to be successful. Um, so I see those as being kind of the main things, but there are other pieces that you can certainly do to help make your Give to the Max Day successful, thinking about timing and when you're going to do things, who else you can help have involved to help you, the different tools that you might use, and then thinking about the content that you have available. And of course, last but not least, planning for recognition. So the first step that we looked at was what data do we have, and really dug into all of our spreadsheets at that point. We just had all this stuff kind of in Excel and in lots of different Excel spreadsheets. So pulling that all together, trying to get a really good feel of um, who our donors were online, offline, on Give to the Max Day at different times of year, who are repeat donors, our donor sizes, and then honing in on who do we have email addresses for, because we knew that for Give to the Max Day, this is an online giving day. Um, you are encouraging people to go and be online. Those people that you're going to access are most likely going to be communicating with you in an online communication tool like email or social media. So who do we have email addresses for that we're going to be able to connect with in the days and leading up to Give to the Max Day and that day? And so as I mentioned before, once we had a good feel of who the different audiences that we were going to be working with, really looking at how do we segment those people, because we knew we wanted to talk to them differently. You know, the orange kitty and the calico kitty and the gray kitty, they all need to hear different messages from us because maybe they're a volunteer and we need to tell them how much we appreciate the work that they did on the last house that we built. Or maybe they have been giving over $1,000 every year for the last 5 years, and we need to make sure that they know how important that support is to us. It could be your board of directors, people on your committees, campus chapters. These are all kind of a segment of people that you could look at. There's probably more within your affiliates, but another one might be if you have a multi-county affiliate service area, you might be wanting to segment your people by address or county to let them know that um, there's certain impact that they've had in their particular community, whether it was an ABWK project or a house that maybe they helped support. So after we had those two things pieced together, we really started looking at what was our timeline, how are we going to pull this off, and we started in September and kind of rolled out the details in October. So I think this timing right now, if you're getting started on this, is perfect to start thinking about how you're going to move forward on your Give to the Max Day plans. Key for us was looking at how do we overlap our Give to the Max Day efforts with our end of year giving, knowing that staff time is limited and not wanting to over inundate our donors and the people we're communicating with. We really wanted to be strategic on how we could lap those two together to make the best use of our planning. And as we thought about our timeline and what would go into our communications calendar, we looked at all the possible different communications tools that we could use if we wanted to, if we had the time and the resources to pull off this communications plan. And for us, it really was, okay, well, we know that we can do email well, we know we can do social media well. We're going to send a letter and postcard out to people who aren't online, but we still want to be able to communicate with them. And then we had some limited things we could do with our website. So a blog would be great. You know, we did some videos, limited videos. A newsletter would be great, but those weren't things that we could easily and readily do, so we didn't do them. But you may already have these tools available to you, so those are things to think about. This is a sample of what our communications calendar looked like for Give to the Max Day. This is also a handout that we'll be sharing via email for you guys to use or look at a little bit more carefully. The parts that we really wanted to think about was what tool are we using to communicate? So sending a letter, doing emails, or using social media. Those are kind of the three key areas that we keyed it on. And then who are we going to talk to? And how are we going to talk to them? So we're going to send a letter to our past Give to the Max Day donors, to our past online donors, of a certain level and higher, and then to our past individual donors. Then we moved on to thinking about what kind of email communication are we going to have, and being really careful not to send too much email. Many of you probably have experienced on Give to the Max Day, your email inbox explodes with tons of emails from all these different great nonprofits that want you to help them support the work that they're doing. And so there's a delicate balance of not wanting to be lost in that shuffle, but also not sending too much so that people are turned off or unsubscribe from your email lists. And so we found the right number to be 5. We wanted to send out kind of a week or so before, letting people know that it was coming up and what to expect, and then some targeted emails in the days leading up to it. We spread out the social media over that same time frame, keying in on who are we going to talk to in those different groups. And for us, for social media, we really just used Facebook. And we actually have 3 different Facebook pages. There's the Habitat Minnesota one, another one that's targeted to our Habitat 500 audiences, and then one that's for current and former Vistas and people that are interested in the Vista program. So looking at how are we going to talk to those various different people. Once we had those different pieces laid out, we could really start thinking about what was our theme and what was going to be our messaging. Um, you don't have to have a theme associated with your Give to the Max Day campaign. For us, it worked out really well. We ended up having a matching gift that was a memorial donation from someone close to our organization. His name was Mark. And so we came up with the theme, make a meaningful and lasting difference, make your mark. And then we could tell the story of Mark and his donation to our organization and how he had supported us. I've seen the Rice County Habitat affiliate last year, their theme was "You did this," and I'll show you examples of that. So it was looking at a before and after of rehab pictures or telling stories of families of how you, the donor, helped to make that happen. I know Twin Cities Habitat focused on veteran homes last year and themed their messaging around that. So those are options to think about too as you're pulling your messaging together. I would say what is key to think about is making sure that your statements are you statements. So it's not we or us, it's you, the donor, made a difference. You, the donor, helped support us. You, the donor, can help us do this going forward. Also talking about impact and how their donation makes a change and an impact for your organization as well. Oops, and I'm having some fun with my slides here. So next step 5 was thinking about calls to action. So as we thought about what emails we're going to send, what social media posts we were going to put up, we didn't want to be just saying the same thing over and over again, saying, hey, donate to us. I mean, that's great. That's ultimately what we want them to do, but we don't want to turn people off by just asking for that. I like to um, think about different ways that you can engage people. So thinking, double your impact. You can share the information about a matching gift if you have that. Um, sign up and pledge today. Give MN allows the opportunity for you actually to pre-schedule your donation in advance of Give to the Max Day. So that's another way to engage people. Save the date, like it's on Facebook. So that has nothing to do with Give to the Max Day in this moment, but it's helping you to build that audience that you will be engaging with in that week of Give to the Max Day week and that day in itself. Um, Tell us more. You could ask people to share their volunteer experiences or why they support Habitat. And so focusing on engaging with the people that you're talking with. We use the call to action, share this with a friend. So this showed up not only in our emails asking people to forward it on to their friends, but also in the letters that we sent out. We had a PS statement that was tailored to a specific group. I think it was multi-year donors over a certain amount, and we said in it, you guys are really valuable supporters to us. You've done so much for us. Clearly you support our organization, believe in it. Please share this with a friend who you think would feel the same way you do about the work that we're doing. Kind of helping to get the word out. And then another call to action to think about would be uh, giving a reminder. So you could ask people to sign up for a reminder for that day. So now you're not just sending them an email they don't want, they are getting an email that they asked for. Another call to action that I didn't put on here would be thinking about they have all these golden tickets that you can win throughout every hour and then at the end of the whole Give to the Max day. So you could have a call to action that's, help us win. So next to think about is developing your content and thinking about what content you can repurpose. This was not something we had a lot of time to spend on, and so we wanted to think about what photos do we have, what videos do we already have, what stories do we already have that are really compelling that we can use again. And we came up with these little, we call them mini stories, and there was information from our homeowner impact study. So this was work that had already been put together, photos that had already been collected. We just put them in a neat little box and made them look nice, um, and used it on our GiveMN page and in emails to help kind of share the story of what we were doing and the impact that we're having. So we basically started a file and started putting photos and information in it that we thought we could potentially repurpose and use as we go forward. We had a couple of videos that were targeted to other things, but we just changed like the first screen on it that to include the Give to the Max Day logo, maybe put a little bit of new content in it so that we could reuse those going forward, trying to make the best use of the time and resources that are available. And at that point, then we were ready to sharpen our tools and get moving forward. So again, this isn't stuff that we didn't do all of these things, but these are different tools that you could use as you prepare for Give to the Max Day. So again, we focus on Facebook and social media and GiveMN page, a little bit on our website and emails, but certainly there are press releases that GiveMN puts together that you can send out to your local media. If you have a blog or print newsletter, thinking about the face-to-face opportunities to share about Give to the Max Day, we put together just a little handout that said, this is what Give to the Max Day is about. Here's the information about our match from our dear friend Mark, and um, handed it out at board meetings, handed it out at committee meetings, trying to make best use of when we were actually able to see people face to face and giving extra copies to those people so that they could share it with a friend if they so chose to. Fundraising letter and videos again. So a couple of tips on developing content and messaging. So we are just about to the examples part of this presentation. And I would say kind of what we focused on was making sure we had a clear call to action, that we were using good, visually interesting photos, that we were really thinking about who our audience was and what we were going to say to them. So we were saying something different to the Vista alumni, to the Habitat 500 group, to our core volunteers, to our board, to our donors, to our online donors. Making sure we were using you messaging. We really wanted to focus on keeping it fun because I think that's kind of just the overall feel of Give to the Max Day. If you talk to the folks at GiveMN, they're all about making this a fun day, keeping it fresh and keeping it simple. So those are kind of the 7 key things we kept in mind as we were moving forward with this. You'll see we didn't always hit the mark on those things, but it was the basis for how we developed these different pieces. So my first thing was to show what we were doing before. And when you get this in your email box, it's really hard to know what the call to action is or what do they want me to do. And um, it just wasn't engaging in the way that we needed it to be. So we've changed that to this email now, which this is the first email we sent out. We focused on having a visually interesting photo. This was a photo we had from 2006. It was one that we loved, and we thought, let's reuse that. The call to action was save the date on the main part of the photo, um, and then the buttons associated with it where you could schedule a donation or make your mark, and they could learn more about the Make Your Mark campaign. So next on my list of examples, these were the next 2 series of emails that we sent out. These were the couple of days right before Give to the Max Day. And you'll note that we use an email system called MailChimp. And in it, we can do a little bit more. You can add some photos. You can have it look a little bit more like a website, a little bit more professional looking tool. And it is free to nonprofits. Some people will use Constant Contact. I'll show examples of how Rice County has used that. And there are other things out there. We use this and it works for what we use it for. But in thinking about setting up the emails, I kind of drawing this line with my cursor here. This is what I would say is the above the fold. So when you open your email, this top half is probably what's going to show. And we want to make sure that that's where the most visually interesting things are, that uh, if they see nothing else, that it's going to be something that catches their attention about, making your mark, looking at how are you going to make your mark. Um, Having a video in there gets people's attention, and then again, thinking about what are our clear calls to action associated with it. Um, the kind of below the fold. So if we've caught their attention and they're now engaged by these different things, then they can go on to read about the different parts of Give to the Max Day and kind of some lower level calls to action that they could help us with.
Jenny,
The fourth,
there's a couple of questions.
mhm.
Um, I think it's pretty simple, but so we do the software that you use to make the visuals. Is it a combination of the Give to the Max Day page and MailChimp?
So these things that I'm showing right now are just in MailChimp. I will show you
Okay.
our Give to the Max Day page or Give MN page coming up. But these are, MailChimp is a pretty easy to use system in which you can just put photos in. It creates buttons for you. You just have to add the text. Uh, I, overall, I've used vertical response. I've used constant contact. They're all fairly similar. I just think MailChimp has a little bit nicer look to it. But in terms of features, they're all fairly similar.
And then there was a
So,
comment from Pat that I shared with everybody, but wanted to make sure that we said out loud, though, too, that Pat at Steel with Zika mentioned that starting on November 1st, you need to indicate the November 14th date in your payment in order for it to count on that day. I think that's about the advance, scheduling them in advance, but
yes.
maybe that's something to pay attention to. So,
Yeah, so there are tricky parts associated with Give to the Max Day. One of the things I struggled with most on the communication side of this is there is so much to communicate. So that email that I showed you, 4 slides ago, it's like, well, you can help us win a ticket. You can schedule in advance. There's this and this going on. There's all these great events. There's all these fun things. The messaging around that can be totally overwhelming from a donor standpoint. So what we tried to do with these email series was pick one call to action that we could talk about whatever we want, specific to that in that email. So this one was, you know, thinking about the golden ticket and talking a little bit more about how they can help us win. This is the top of the email. This is the bottom of the email. It just wouldn't fit on my screen in one bit, but um, so but Pat is right on in that there are a lot of details associated with this. So if you were to, set up this save the date or schedule a donation, um, we would probably want to say something a little bit more about that down in this section now, saying, okay, if you schedule a donation, please be sure to check this box or mark it for this specific date to make sure that that is a little bit more helpful.
okay, and Brian at Twin Cities also shared so a little more clarification on this that it's I think I commented that I didn't know you could submit your donation in advance and I was excited about that. So but Brian just added that it is automatically scheduled from November 1st to November 14th. So you'd have to opt out
Oh, great.
of it to schedule a donation. That makes a lot more sense, but maybe it
That
was
makes
like
sense.
that before and then they fixed that little part of it, so that would make a lot of sense. So it's
Yeah, I don't think it
default
was
set to schedule for Give to the Max Day from that time period, which that makes that's great.
great. Yeah, thank you for that, Brian. Because last year it wasn't quite that straightforward, so that does make it easier, and you don't have to worry about communicating all those details then. You can just say schedule your donation. So this is another example of the fifth in the email series that we sent out. This was sent out on Give to the Max Day itself. There are parts of this that I liked. We had this eye-catching kind of top, and we asked people vistas and volunteers to send us a photo of them holding a piece of paper of how do they make their mark. So they had all these different messages about how they make their mark. And we could talk about kind of our theme in that way. The bottom half was kind of some fun pieces that we had put out on Facebook to get people engaged and keep it interesting in that respect. I would say on this one, we missed the mark on having a clear call to action. We should have had a big old donate now or help us win a golden ticket or something here in the email to really make it super clear as to what we wanted them to do.
Who's that Bernatello's guy down there? What's
Yeah, and I'll show a bigger version of that coming up, but that
Okay.
was a social media idea that we had, but we repurposed here in this. Because not everybody on social media and email are going to see all the same things, so we figured we were pretty safe in that. So this is an example of what our Give Minnesota page looks like. We have a video here. Anybody can add video. It's just a link to YouTube, and then some of those different mini stories that I was showing you before, and then a really brief description about the work that we do. What's important in online communication is keeping things simple. People aren't going to read paragraphs and paragraphs of information. They're there to scan quickly and learn about you. So making sure that what you write in there is to the point and sharing impact, but short. And again, focusing on the you messaging. I do want to call out this line up here. Seems simple and something you could miss, but it's actually really important. It's the sentence that comes up when people search for you on the Give Min search function. So if you put in Habitat for Humanity in the Give Minnesota search page, a whole bunch of Habitat affiliates show up, and usually it's their logo or a picture that they've chosen, and then this sentence here. So this is kind of how you can stand out in the bunch. For us, we want to make sure that people know that they're donating to Minnesota, so we have that in here. We also say it several times down here along with our logo. Give Minnesota in their webinar last week was talking about an important fact that they had learned from Razoo, which is kind of their parent company that processes all the donations, is that if you have photos on your GiveMM page, you'll receive 3 times more donations than a page that doesn't have photos, which is pretty fantastic. And if you have a video, you'll likely to receive 4 times as many donations as a page that doesn't have a video. So making sure that you include at least a photo in here, if you can, a video. You don't have to make your own video if you don't want to or you don't have time. Habitat International has a lot of really great videos that you could link to and include in there that share the impact of what Habitat does for families um, across around the world. We also have videos here at Habitat Minnesota on our YouTube page that you could certainly use that talks about the homeowner impact study and has some really great interviews from families all across Minnesota. So feel free to use those as well. So here are a few, I have about 5 slides that are social media examples of things that we did. And when we thought about what we wanted to do on our various social media pages, we want to make sure that we were advertising subtly, that we didn't want to just be shouting out, donate, donate, help us raise money. We wanted to meet people kind of where they're at. And when people are using social media, generally it's to be engaged in a community or to have fun and see fun things. So in that respect, we focus on what we had for photos. So again, some of these were really old photos from, I think this was from 1998, somewhere back in the 90s as well. And so it was fun for people to come to the HAP 500 social media page and see these old photos and be engaged in a new way. You know, we still included the Give to the Max Day to let people know that this was coming up and keep it on their radar, but really the focus was on these great photos that we were sharing from the history of this organization. And we were able to actually tag people in these photos. So there were people who maybe haven't written in a number of years, but we're friends with them on Facebook. So we tag them and then their Facebook friends see them. And so there's kind of a ripple effect when you can engage new people in that way. We also looked at how we could share impact. And so it happened to be the 20th anniversary of the bike ride at that point. And so we talked about the impact of that around the event. We also looked at the different programming that we had here at Habitat Minnesota. So we highlighted our sustainable building program at one point using pictures from trainings that we had done. We're able to tag people from different affiliates in it and talk about the work that we're doing. We use these all as banners, Facebook banners for various days. So we change these out like every day the week of Give to the Max Day, and we did some prior to that as well. But in this, we also looked at photos of our staff that we could add, and we could tag our staff in it, and then their friends see it and whatnot. Again, kind of keeping um, the advertising a little bit more subtle, but still including it in the photos that we were sharing. Another couple of ideas that we came up with is focusing really just on sharing the impact, asking people, did you know there's 32 affiliates in the state and that Habitat Minnesota provided over 4.5 million in resources, and helping them visit our website to find the affiliate nearest you, showing a map of all the great work of the affiliates that we're doing across the state, and then sharing some information about Give to the Max Day again. So a little bit more of that here. So this was the banner that we had used in that email I showed you a few slides back. We repurposed it and used it also on the Habitat 500 page, the Vista page, and on the Habitat Minnesota page because there were Vistas and Hab 500 people in here. What was fun about this was these people, there were several people in here that actually took this photo and then made it their banner on their Facebook page. So all of their friends got to see it too because they thought it was pretty cool that they had their photo in there talking about how they make their mark with Habitat. This was just a really I guess we just wanted to show the impact of habitat across the state. So this is a sample of the different houses that are built, just kind of going with that, keeping it interesting visuals. One of the ways we tried to make it fun was thinking about the tools that we had in our office, which included an infrared camera. And so we used the camera to take photos of things. So we would share this photo, like this kind of bright pink one, on our Facebook page as a post and ask people if they could guess what it was. And people loved it. They engaged in a way that we haven't had people engage ever before. And then we showed the actual photo, which was this mug here, and people could guess. And so we this is how we kind of kicked it off with some writing about it and then asking, can you guess what the photo is? This is me opening a refrigerator. We had a wide variety of things that we did and used throughout the week then. Again, the whole idea behind that is if people were having fun, they were going to likely come back to our page to see what else we were doing. And then we could add a few things like, hey, did you know it was Give to the Max Day? Or did you schedule your donation yet? I like to think of social media as kind of like a piggy bank. Um, Putting fun pictures in, putting stories in, sharing impact is all putting money into the piggy bank. And then every time you're asking for something from them, like you're asking for a donation, you're asking them to share this with a friend or have them like your page, it's taking money out of the piggy bank. So you just always being careful of not taking too much out and balancing it with what you put in. And if you do those things, you're likely to have an engaged audience that's going to want to keep coming back to your Facebook page.
I started last year on Give to the Max Day, and I'm sad that I missed the infrared camera times. It has not been out since then.
Yes, that was a little. We had fun. Let's just put it that way. There was some good times. Um, Here's just another example of a photo that we put up, and we were able to, it's very visually pleasing, very eye-catching. We were able to tag a bunch of people in it. And this next one is that slide that I was talking with April about moments ago, in which we had a fun photo of one of our volunteers on the bike ride holding this little Bernatello's Pizza Bernie cutout. That's one of our sponsors of the bike ride. And so we took that photo, and this is in Microsoft Word, added a little uh, text box to have a little commentary in here, put a little golden ticket in Bernie's hand, and use this then on Facebook to get people interested and let them know about Give to the Max Day. So, in terms of the piggy bank, we were both putting in and taking out at the same time with this photo, which I appreciated the balance and all of that. And then we repurposed it in our emails that we had sent out as well. From a website standpoint, we were kind of limited in what we could do with the website itself. So I wanted to focus on making sure we kept things really brief, straightforward, looking at making sure we're using a you language in here. You helped us serve 2,000 families. You can make your mark. And then making the donating itself as easy as possible. So there was the donate now option here. They actually, if they hit get involved, there's a donate option there. And then they could also donate here. So trying just to make it as super easy as possible for people to make a donation. And then we included a link to that same Give to the Max Day video that was on the Give MN page and we used in the e-newsletter. So more repurposing. Just wanted to talk for a brief second about videos. When we do videos here, a lot of them are done on smartphones or on like a personal camera that's not, it's meant for taking photos, not video. So you don't have to have high-tech equipment. And we do have a nicer camera that we've used for some of our homeowner impact study videos, but things that are happening out on a job site or out with the Habitat 500 aren't necessarily being captured in that way. And that's fine. You can still use these videos. They don't have to be super professionally done to have a lot of impact. Um, these two are ones that I really appreciated. This one we highlighted at the OLE conference last year. This was done by Twin Cities Habitat. It's short, it's a minute, 30 seconds, and it's basically the part of the closing where the homeowner is handed her keys, and it's just wonderfully emotional and just so very moving. And it was, clearly just done kind of spur of the moment, and it captures the essence of what we do in such a great way. The second video is one that Rice County Habitat did, and they just took a little camera and they walked through a house that they had just completed, and they showed the different pieces and they talk about the family that's moving in. It's a little bit longer video, but it was just a really fun way to share what they were up to. If you don't have movie software, you can actually do editing in YouTube. They make it really simple and easy these days, where you can upload the video that you took and add your logo to the front end and do a little editing if you want to. And there you have it. Another tip I would add is thinking about planning for recognition. So for social media, we came up with a couple of different ways of how we were going to thank people. We had these photos, these fun photos from the bike ride in which we had spelled out thanks with Pearson salted nut rolls and various other things that bike riders eat throughout the week. And then once again, got out that infrared camera and we came up with the idea that we wanted to thank people and letting them know that they warm our hearts using the infrared camera and some special effects, which were hand warmers. But that was we put this as a banner on our Facebook pages. We used it in emails, and it really was fun. People liked it. From an email standpoint, we had a video that our Vista had made that was a thank you for a donation for something else that we had gotten that we just repurposed. We changed it up a little bit. It's 30 seconds long, and we're able to use that in an email that we sent out at the end of Give to the Max Day to everybody who donated, and focusing on your support means everything to us and the families that we serve. Because of you, we were able to serve over 288 families this last year and whatnot. Keeping it really simple, keeping it really focused on them. And so I did a similar presentation to this at the OLE conference back in April, and I know as I was going through it, people were starting to look at me like, oh, how am I going to do this? I don't have time to do this. This is hard work, and it is. It kind of goes back to my comment about how much would you plan for an event that you are going to raise $5,000-$10,000 for, but it also goes to who can you get to help you, thinking about you have vistas on site, committee people, your other staff, your board members, and volunteers who are all willing to help you have a successful Give to the Max Day. And that you can involve them in very simple ways. I have partner families on the list as well. An example I'll show you in a moment. There was an affiliate that had their partner families hold something like this, a little sign, and had them do Facebook social media posts for them. throughout Give to the Max Day and around the end of year giving time, which is, I think, a really wonderful way to involve other people. So a couple of affiliate examples. These are two examples from Rice County Habitat. I've been using them because they were actually our Best Practices Award winner for Give to the Max Day that we highlighted at the OLE conference this past April. There's a few things that I really like about their emails here. Um, First would be they are using current events that they have to talk about Give to the Max Day. So they're not just sending out an email about Give to the Max Day, they're sending out an email about a dedication that they have coming up and using that as an opportunity to start sharing. Okay, we have this fun thing coming up, help us win a golden ticket, good language to um, get people interested, like, well, what's a golden ticket? What does that mean? You could change it like, you could help us win a golden ticket kind of thing to really hammer home on the using the you language. I also really appreciated they used this great story um, and a quote from this young man who says, "Can we have Christmas at our house this year?" It's this really wonderful, relatable sentence that grabs a person's attention and links them into Give to the Max Day is coming. They, like I said before, had this "you did this" kind of theme to the emails that they were sending and talked about before and after stories. So this is what a homeowner was living in prior to Habitat, and this is what was able to happen afterwards, and then going into telling the story of the impact. Again, using a really simple sentence, "P.S. I love my house. I can't wait to go home at night." Something that a lot of people can easily relate to and feel motivated by. Giving updates, only 10 hours left, thinking about the different kind of messaging that's available to you as you're pulling these things together. Really good visuals that are going to catch your attention. Great smile, great facial shot. This next slide is an example of what Crow River Habitat did and Lake Agassiz Habitat here in Minnesota did. Crow River used this great photo of a partner family, their most recent partner family, all these cute kids holding a thanks sign, really compelling, really eye-catching. And then Lake Agassiz did these photos using their partner families and their staff to say, I heart Lake Agassiz Habitat, and then little quotes from the various people as to why they support it, why they love the affiliate and Habitat for Humanity. A couple more examples from them. Great use of photos, cute kids, bright smiley faces. And here's a way that they repurposed a video for a thank you. Though they actually took photos of partner families with a blank sign that actually just had their logo on it, and then using any editor you could use, Microsoft Word or whatnot, you can actually go in electronically and write your message on it. So they were able to use this to say thank you and talk about thanking people for Give to the Max Day. My last affiliate example here is for Twin Cities Habitat. Their theme was around supporting veterans. So when they talked about Give to the Max Day, they talked about how the work they do supports veterans specifically. And they have a great photo with a veterans group that was volunteering on a house. It helped, I think it was potentially a rehab. So as I get to wrapping this up, I just want to say a couple more things, and one's just kind of a reminder of um, the key tips as you move forward with your planning, um, paying attention to what others are doing. So when I started doing this, I was looking at, I love to save my emails, so I went back to my emails from the year prior and saw a bunch of emails that I gotten on Give to the Max Day and really looked at what caught my attention, which one did I want to actually read and keep looking at, and see if we could do something similar to that. Thinking about how do we tell the story of our impact, thinking about who can we interact with and collaborate with to get that kind of viral nature of what social media can offer you. Being concise and brief is really important. Kind of thinking about that email that we had used to send that was 10 paragraphs long and lots of text to just a really compelling photo that says, help support Habitat, donate today. Being fun, make it fun. People like to be entertained. And then kind of these last two are really important, that make it easy, making sure that in your emails you're providing a direct link to your Give Minnesota page. If they are left to their own devices to have to go in and search for you on GiveMN, they can get there, but it's going to be a heck of a lot easier if you just give them that direct link to your Give Minnesota page. There's no confusion then as to which Habitat affiliate they need to be donating to support you. And making sure on your website that there's lots of ways and really easy, convenient ways to find out how to donate. Uh, Ideally, it'll be up on the upper right or left hand part of your screen where they're going to see it right away. And then lastly, make sure you make good use of the Give Minnesota resources. I talked about them a little bit in the start of this webinar, but I've sat through their last webinars over the last 4 days, or the last week they had 4 webinars, and all of them were really good. They had different focuses on how to create compelling photos, how to do social media, looking at what kind of email communication you might want to do, and then just a general how to get involved with Give to the Max Day. There's a link that I'll be sending out, or April will send out after this, that links to the Give Minnesota Nonprofit Toolkit, and there's all the logos are in there, sample press releases, sample communications plans, and so much more. So do be sure to take a look at that as well. Before I wrap up any further, um, one of the things I like to do after I've been part of a training is, look at my notes and write down quickly 2 things for sure I'm going to do and implement from this training. So please take just a moment to think about, what 2 things do you want to try this year?
So
And then at
I
this
have
point,
been sharing some of Britta had some ideas about scheduling posts. So I've been sharing that in the question panel. But, and Jenny, I just don't know if you've had a chance to look at some of those things, but there's still, some of the comments from earlier. Maybe let's see. Parker had shared that they'll be collaborating with other local nonprofits in an all-day event at the local YMCA. It sounds really interesting. And
yeah,
several
and
comments just about we haven't really had the capacity to do this, and those mostly came from the 3 affiliates, from 3 communications vistas at different affiliates. So I think they're really looking to use their vistas to help maximize their impact on Give to the Max Day.
which is really great, because you can reuse this next year, which is what you'll see from us this year. If you're able to develop good content and good strategy, it is capacity building, and you can certainly use it in the years to come as well. There are, going to Britta's comment about different ways of scheduling social media things. There's lots of tools out there to help you do that. Hootsuite, we use that here because we have the various social media pages with Habitat Minnesota and the Hab 500 and Vista, and it can be a little bit overwhelming otherwise. But certainly there are great resources out there that are free, and I would recommend Hootsuite as one of them. It's HOOTSUITE.com.
All right, so there are several comments here of things that people will try. So Andrea at Freeborn Mauer says they will try to up their game on social networking. We're going to try to post to our Facebook page 3 to 4 times a week and utilize some of the videos. Brian at Twin Cities Habitat says we're having people set up their own fundraising pages so they can invite
Yeah,
their friends and family.
great.
And then Parker has his hand raised, so I'm going to try to unmute him and see if he'd like to talk with us maybe more about that collaboration idea. Okay, Parker, you're unmuted. If you're using your headset, Parker, there's a little button. You want to make sure that it's a solid red light and not a flashing red light. I'll leave you unmuted while you get that. Let's see. Oh, so Brian added to his comment though too, Brian at Twin Cities about the individual fundraisers, but then competing for raising the most money on their page.
I love it. That's a great strategy. Give MN makes it really easy to have individuals set up their own personal fundraising page. We use it for the Habitat 500, and most people really enjoy the ease of use in setting that up. And what a great way to engage new people and give to the Max Day.
Megan in Crow River says she's going to promote the scheduling idea. I think the scheduling in advance. And then Britta up at North St. Louis County says they might use MailChimp and more you statements and press releases. Because I think Britta said they didn't do as much in the past in advance, not a lot of the
Mm,
planning, and so she's really looking to do that this year.
great. I'm glad to see or hear that there's all sorts of good ideas coming forward from this.
Okay. And then there was a challenge shared earlier from Brian about working with the Give Minnesota site so that our matching donors' donations show up on our total for the leaderboard the day of Give to the Max Day. The site is unclear on how to do this, so I don't know if you have any
That
insight on that particular question. Pat
yeah,
had shared some tips for him about a workshop that she'd attended yesterday, probably the same one that you did.
yeah, I would say that's a good question to follow up directly with Give MN on. From what I can see, those matching dollars don't show up there, or they haven't in the past.
Let's see, Parker, it says that you are here with us and unmuted, but not hearing anything yet. And any other questions or comments from everyone? I don't see any other ones. I know, so again, this is uh, sort of one of Jenny's last acts as our communications and development director. And we can continue to post questions and things, but just want to, I guess I'll just say then too that to thank Jenny for this webinar and for everything that she's done for Habitat Minnesota over those 9+ years. I was thinking it was 8, but just to say you have really made your mark. And I think the
Oh,
greatest
thanks, April.
the greatest testament, though, I just keep thinking of all the things that are going to live on after you've gone and how that's truly what capacity building is about. And I know we have there's lots of messages coming through about we'll miss you and thanks for everything and great job. But I know Jan Plimpton, our executive director, is on this webinar, and Jan, I'm going to go ahead and unmute you. I think you wanted to acknowledge Jenny a bit right now too.
You hear me now?
We sure can.
Oh, how excellent it worked. Well, I just have been on this webinar today, watching so carefully all the great work that Jenny has done and knowing that somehow or other between now and November 14th, I'm going to have to kind of replicate that, which is just huge shoes to fill. But it's wonderful to have Jenny's templates and project all set up that we can use again, and adapt. So a tremendous thanks to Jenny for getting us set up so that we can do this again and again. I was checking my records to just make sure how long Jenny had been here, and it is actually 8.5 years, but it's 9 Habitat 500s. So from that standpoint, she has been just a tremendous treasure to this organization and really build capacity and helped affiliates more than we can possibly imagine. I think the work that affiliates have been doing with communications in the recent past has been a real tribute to Jenny's support for them that she has been providing from here. So we will miss her. We wish her the very best at the Eden Prairie School District. And, everybody say a prayer for us because hopefully we'll come through. But thank you again, Jenny, for your fabulous work. And we just so appreciate the many, many things you've done and the many hours outside of 9 to 5 that you have contributed to this organization. You have really made your mark, and this place is so much better for that. Thank you.
Well, thanks, Jan. I've loved every moment of working with the affiliates across Minnesota, and it's been just an absolute joy to see different affiliates grow and change over time, and the impact that we've all had collectively in Minnesota is just fantastic. So keep up the good work, everybody. I plan to stay connected and be a resource as much as possible going forward as well. So feel free to connect with me on Facebook and whatnot. I'd love to hear from you.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Thank you, Jenny. We have a luncheon in Jenny's honor, so it's okay to wrap up here. I'll stop the recording. But if you have other questions about Give to the Max Day, we will be sending an email to you this afternoon with the link to this recording and also with all the resources that that Jenny has put together to share with you. And I guess if you want to reach Jenny, you could get your questions to her right away this afternoon, um, or send those to me, and we can answer some of those questions for you as well. Thank you so much for being with us here today, and we hope that you have lots of luck on Give to the Max Day.